What's the background of that?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Highways Committee meeting today, Thursday, 14th of March. Just some health and safety mentions. Firstly, we are not expecting a fire drill, but if the alarm does sound, please make your way to the nearest fire exit. The emergency exit at the back of the chamber will take you across the roof and down the fire escape. Take care, this may be slippery if wet. Or you can exit the way you entered the building through the police station and out of the front or back door. If it is not possible to get to an exit, then the lift lobby is a safety zone in event of a fire. Under no circumstances should the lift be used. Please make sure that all mobile phones and devices are switched off or on silent. Any individual wishing to video or audio record the meeting may do so. I must inform you that this meeting is being videoed by the Council and will be uploaded to the Council's YouTube channel. Please remember anyone wishing to speak in the public participation part of the meeting should raise their hand and wait for me as chair to gesture for you to speak. You will be given a maximum of 4 minutes to make your representation, which should be aimed at me as chair. Please state the agenda item which you will be speaking about. Through me as chair, council members or officers may then respond to your point if necessary. You will not automatically be able to reply unless I, Chair, allow you to do so. The full public participation policy and other helpful policies are available. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. Anyone present felt to be behaving unacceptably be excluded from the meeting by the chair. Any member of the public looking to leave the meeting should wait for a council officer to escort them out of the building. Thank you. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence.
No apologies.
Oh no, that's wrong again. I'm still used to him being on the committee, sorry. Item 2, disclosure of interest, to deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosure of pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests as defined under the C4 Town Council Code of Conduct and Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. Okay. Item 3, public participation. In accordance with Standing Order 3 and the C4 Town Council policy, members of the public will be entitled to speak on general issues concerning this committee on non-planning application matters at this point. People wishing to speak on planning applications may do so immediately before each planning application. Anybody who'd like to speak at the moment? Yes, Mrs. Wilson?
Hello. Can I ask if anybody is checking the scaffolding? Because the noise and rattle that is coming from the planks is horrific, and I have had them come down in my garden and even out in the front. It's actually quite frightening for anybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
We'll check on that, can't we?
Yeah, it's on the agenda later for
Yes,
for an
okay.
update.
Sorry,
So we can cover that then.
Thank you.
We'll move on to planning applications. Week commencing the 10th of February. LW/199/0117, 29B Sutton Park Road. Any members of the public like to comment on this application? Welcome to the committee. I think you've got you first, then Councillor.
I'm not keen on going from It's to losing residential, basically. I think there's plenty of places around, I would have thought, to use as office space, and we're short on residential, so I wouldn't support this. Based on that, really.
Making a proposal,
Yeah,
or
I'll do that,
objecting.
yeah.
Does that find a second?
Yeah.
I think, councillor.
Councillor.
Can I speak? Oh, you, sorry.
Yeah, I
Councillor
would like
Lowe.
to speak on it, yeah.
After you.
No, I quite agree. I mean, I'm looking at the document in front of me here, and it's not complete. I mean, it says there's 21 pages and there's only 13 there, but even so, the map they've given with, that shows there's Avondale Hotel and Silverdale Hotel, obviously, are now residential again. They're not businesses anymore. So we've now got a row of very pleasant Edwardian houses, and I think that's what they should remain on. Very anti converting that into a business. There are other places in the town.
Well, so,
Councillor Lowe.
I'd agree with both Councillor Elton and Councillor Lowe. I think there's plenty of, or should be plenty of B1 available in the town, and we're often looking at it the other way around. And this is a particularly nice area which is being reclaimed for residential opposite the War Memorial. So I'm very opposed to it too.
Just to mention though, if part of the design and access statement weren't available, the gist of their argument was that they had already occupied, I think, 4 small office suites above Fox's estate agents. That accommodation was going to be turned into residential. This is at the end of Church Street on the corner there. And so they've already established in the town the 3 full-time, 3 part-time employees, and that they wanted to buy the whole property, convert only the first and second floor maisonette to office and keep the ground floor, and they did say it's difficult to find suitable office accommodation in the town. So that was the nub of their argument if that document wasn't available. But yes, I mean, there are arguments both ways as I see it. That, you know, that it is a focal point of the town in a way. It's the nearest thing the town's got to a town square, and that terrace is an attractive residential terrace at the moment. But you know, on the other side, there's the fact that it's an existing company which has been, I think, above Fox's for a number of years, and is having to vacate that accommodation. So you know, to weigh one up against.
Yes, I read all that, and I thought it was pretty lame, really, threatening to move out of the town if we didn't agree to this change of use. I'm sure with a little bit of perseverance they could find some accommodation elsewhere that's already classed as B1. So notwithstanding what's just been said, I still continue to object strongly to this.
I should be going against the what's on the table today, because I feel as though we've got I feel as though we should be encouraging our companies to stay here and not move out. The 2 hotels aren't residential in one sense. They're sort of they're not hotels still, so I don't know why we call them hotels when they're not. Avondale doesn't have any guests in anywhere, and yet people still calling it Avondale Hotel, Silverdale Hotel, when they're both going to be multiple houses of occupation, so emergency housing. So it's not in that sense. In that sense, for 6 employees, and it's going. They're on the first and second floor. They're not on the ground. I would say it's so small a change. It's not really an issue. You've only got to cross over the road, and you've got a small company not too far away on that sort of square. So I should be voting against it anyway.
Any other comments?
I'll go back to what I was saying really. I mean, I think this was a missed chance in the neighbourhood plan, and I did talk to
What is that, yeah.
the neighbourhood plan people about this. I think this is one of the areas that should have been put onto what was the nomination area of
Yeah,
character.
yeah, in that
And I
sense,
did
yeah.
think it should have been that, because, you know, these are very classic houses along there, that, you know, with well established, and so I'd stick with my objection.
Can I just quickly come back?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the district council's local plan it's just outside their sort of town centre boundary, isn't it? So for the mix of the shops and the, to encourage more and more businesses more than residential, isn't it? This is just outside. I mean, it would be a shame if HR, whatever they're called, Sussex HR Services did move out if they, you know, if at the district council they say no to it. That's what I'm trying to say, really. So, yeah.
Okay. So, we've got objecting to this planning application.
Yeah, well, I've just made a few notes that the members don't want to lose the residential use from this. It's a particularly attractive residential area, albeit on the edge of the town centre. Should be retained as residential. Commercial use likely to have an adverse impact on the special character of the area, and members did not accept that no alternative B1 accommodation is available in the town.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd maybe just add, I think we should encourage towns to be sort of tidy. You know, we don't want bits over here, bits over there. I'm all for sort of keeping business in business areas and sort of, not completely, but I think it would sort of lead to a creep, wouldn't it? We don't, you know, I just think towns should be, you know, it's a nice, it's like Penny was saying, it's a nice square, isn't it? It should be kept that way.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, particularly attractive residential area, albeit on the edge of the town centre, it should be retained as residential.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of gets that argument
Yeah.
over. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
it's good.
Okay, so,
Could I say one extra thing? I don't know. Actually, Penny might know the answer to this. For you, Chair. 38 Church Street. Are the homes? Do they go against for the neighbourhood plan, or they haven't got as far as that? If there's going to be sort of some extra homes there, we haven't got as far as that. Or are they going to be a windfall?
It probably comes under permitted development.
Yes, it does, yeah.
So it's very difficult to regulate that sort of change of use, because it doesn't have to come through the authorities, because there's permitted development rights to change offices to flats without formal applications being made up to a certain size.
So this might be under what they
Yes,
have
I
to
mean, I
say in
don't know.
neighbourhood plan terms.
We
I
don't
just
know.
thought it might help the sort of.
It was mentioned in the statement. We don't know how far it's got. We don't even know if it's we assume it's true, but we don't know how much weight to put on that, and we don't know what's really happening. It's just mentioned in passing in the design and access statement. You know, that we haven't had to check on that, but as I say, it could be under permitted development.
Yeah.
Councillor Lord.
Just one final point, Chair. We have empty shops in Broad Street, and there's no reason why the office couldn't locate to an empty shop and be ideally suited in a central location, rather than going, like I said, on the outskirts of town. With other estate agents and this, that and the stuff. The HR, then it's ideal in a central location. One used to be a baker, which is empty now. If they move into that tomorrow, like I said with the Council 11, they don't really done the whole particularly well. This is an easy copper to move into.
I think they've done this for investment purposes as well as trying to
come on,
combat.
so it may well come back to residential.
I think it's their choice. So you know, and I think probably that's why they've chosen the property, because it's half investment and half accommodation.
Yeah, because you're not renting.
Yeah, for the management of the company.
Can we put it to the vote, please, to object to this planning application? Can I show of hands, please?
1, 2, 3, 4.
And those against? No, for the application.
Against the objection? Yeah, 3.
So that's carried.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. There were no planning applications received week commencing the 17th of February. Yes, sorry, I'm right up the group tonight. Right, planning applications received week commencing the 17th of February. LW stroke 19 stroke 0110 24 Belden Rise. Any members of the public like to comment on this application? To the committee? Councillor Nathan?
Thank you, Chair. The property is actually smaller than the two properties it's sandwiched between, numbers 23 and 25. And I think the proposed alterations will make it a similar size to numbers 23 and 25. I think it's been well thought through, and I'd like to support the application.
Thank you. Is that by the seconder? Councillor Lloyd?
I'll second that, yeah, so perfectly acceptable, it's footprint's fine, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? And can I have a show of hands for supporting this application? Yes. LW stroke 19 stroke 0035 3 Sherwood Road. Any members of the public like to comment on this application? Yes, sir.
Okay, hi, Chair. My name is Nicholas Amory. I put the application and I own the property. Sherwood Road is a dilapidated bungalow. About a year ago, it was on the market for over 12 months and no one wanted to buy it. It was in a really poor condition. You had soil pipes leaking into the residential portion of the accommodation through lack of maintenance and repair. So it was in a really bad way. Nobody wanted to touch it. The roof had needed work doing to it. The flat roof was poorly. The surrounds were bad. The drains were poor. Everything needed doing to it. So, the property itself has been completely renovated. And to the standard of the original application last year, all that work's been done. The second stage of the application, by recommendation of the architect to speed the works up, was split in order to get the external work out of the way, and then we could focus on the internals later. And this is the second stage of the application. It's providing flexible, interesting accommodation for young families or young professionals in a town which needs small units of accommodation. There's no parking issues on that street. We're providing off-road parking. There's separate access ways. There's provision for the bin storage, 3 separate bin storages. I can provide bike storage if necessary. There's room for that, it's not a problem. So, it's a nice development, it's a nice area, and I hope it's interesting. That's it.
Thank you. Open to the committee.
Yes, Councillor Freeman and myself went to see the property this afternoon. Initially we were thinking it wouldn't be suitable, but we were very, very surprised when we got there as to what we saw. We think it has been very, very tastefully done. And there certainly appears to be room for parking of 3 cars on the property. So I would say to support this.
Does that find a seconder? Thank you. Anybody else like to go first?
Likewise, I was in upper Sherwood. There's an upper Sherwood Road and there's a Sherwood Road. This is Sherwood Road. I stood outside for about 10 minutes. I took a few pictures, which I've seen. I didn't see a single car go past me, so you couldn't really say there's loads of traffic out there. So that wasn't really going to. That's not an issue in that side of things. I'm hoping that if it's been split 3 ways, that there is very good insulation between all the 3 properties. And if this is the case, otherwise it'll be a soundproofing issue otherwise between the 3 families. It is totally done. It is a mixture. The whole road is a mixture of properties, and some are big, some are large anyway. So you have got that, like some roads I see through, you have got that mishmash of different styles and different types. So that's not an issue either. Blends in well. But the off-road car parking on the side, going down on the left-hand side as you look at the property is sufficient property. There's sufficient parking there for say 3 cars. So I'm more on Councillor Freeman's side. I'm more for it than against anyway. I'm sort of, I'll see what the other people got to say, but I'm sort of going more for the 4 side.
Councillor Nathan?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I agree with what's been said actually. East Sussex County Council have got no objection. It's not a heavy use road. I don't think the the change will make any difference to the traffic flow, not very much. There is provision for off-road parking, and half the development has taken place already. So I'd like to support this application.
Councillor
Can
Lowe?
I just ask about a technicality really, but is this a retrospective application? How much of it was already agreed before?
Well, it's not formally a retrospective application, but it does appear that the flats are in place before approval, before planning approval, although it appears to have building regulation approval from what the objector has said. There's also, there are, I've found, although the planning issues which you've discussed really have to be kept separate from the other technical issues which there seem to be with the application, in that it's not described as a retrospective application. There's very little actual information with the application from the architect. There's no design and access statement as such to describe exactly what's been going on. And there is this, there's a problem with the information on the actual application itself, in that it appears that the applicant, who's a Ms. Casula, has been certified by the agent as the owner, whereas in fact it does appear that the owner is a company operated by Mr. Emery, who spoke earlier. That's a technicality which has been notified to Lewis, which will need to be corrected. But tonight you've really got to concentrate on the planning issues. Whether the application is valid or not, and whether this particular application is going to run its course or be withdrawn and have to be replaced. Your job tonight is to separate any of the issues raised in the objector's letter, the 4-page letter that's been circulated. Most of the issues there will need to be taken up by Lewes District Council. That's the flint wall that at the back of 10 Blatchington Hill that appears to have been removed, which is a possible contravention of conservation area legislation, as well as the trees that have been removed. If they're in a conservation area, would have needed prior application. And also this technicality over the identity of the applicant, which might need to be, or will need to be corrected if the application is to proceed. But you have to leave those things to one side, leave Lewes District Council to sort those out, and just concentrate on whether the change of use to 3 flats will have an adverse impact on the road, and if it does have an adverse impact, traffic and noise, for example, whether that impact is sufficient to justify an objection. So basically it comes down to that. Also, whether you think that allowing one property in Sherwood Road, it doesn't appear that there are many conversions to flats in Sherwood Road. You have to decide whether allowing a property in Sherwood Road to be converted will make it more difficult to resist other conversions. But on the other hand, it also appears that you've got a rundown property which has been brought back to beneficial use, which is obviously a plus factor in the application. So those are the issues you've got to concentrate on. I think you needed to know about the other issues, but they are separate issues which may or may not come up in the future and which will be sorted out by Lewes District Council. Okay.
Okay. So any more comments on this application? Councillor Larger.
One of the things I thought of that is being solved was the parking issues. That's on the objection. But apparently there's 3 parking spaces. That really, and of course it's like Councillor Freeman said, Huntington said, we stood there for 10 minutes and never not a car come past.
Not bad.
Okay. Well, we've put on the table that was supporting the application, which was Councillor Lindsay Freeman and seconded by Councillor Latham. So can I have a show?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favour.
Those against? Those abstaining?
So, name column, 1
That's
against.
carried.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, now, planning applications for week commencing the 24th and the 3rd of March, and there were none received. So we go on to agenda item 5, right to bid for community assets. We were recommended to check and update the list on the community assets set out in Appendix A to this report and consider which, if any, of the assets should be the subject of formal applications for registration.
This was passed on to this committee by a full council last month. It was dealt with initially by this committee when the legislation first came in the Localism Act about 6 or 7 years ago. The report briefly sets out the background. I wouldn't say it's a particularly effective bit of legislation. It does give communities a chance to bid for properties which, if they were sold, would adversely affect the community. It can have some effect in sort of remote villages that want to hang on to their pubs or something, or make a community hub out of something. And we've all heard stories about villages, communities gathering together and keeping their pub running or something like that. This could have been done under this procedure, but the process of actually registering a property has to be done through the district council in our case, and there is quite a bit of work involved in justifying putting the district council putting it on the actual register. The effect it has, as outlined there, is that it brings about a formal delay in the sale process to allow the town council and or the community to get together to say, to purchase it for the community, to make a community centre. And Seaford, a relatively large town without a community centre, so you can say it has some relevance there. But the list has to be reviewed. The list really here in the appendix is a list of possible sites, and that needs to be reviewed from time to time as some sites fall off the list and other sites come forward. Only 2 of the sites, you'll note, have been actually put forward to Lewis for approval through the rather tedious registration process, because they require quite a lot of justification, various statements, etc., to actually put it on the register. The police station here and the Downs Leisure Centre are the 2 that are on there at the moment. The post office was refused because it was Crown land and is exempt, as is the station and other places like that. Certain statutory undertakers' land and Crown land can't be put on the register. But so really it's a question of going through the list that's there, seeing which is a sort of a list of possibles, if you like, pruning the list of any sites which you think are shouldn't be kept on there, and adding any sites which you think should be possibly considered for registration in the future.
I note in paragraph 5 you say subsequently 5 roads of car parks were registered and you name them. They don't appear on the list. In Appendix A, should they not appear?
Yes, I suppose they should have appeared under car parks, but I suppose there is a sort of distinction between buildings and car parks. Yes, they should have been.
The other thing was I'm actually very happy with the list, and I remember working on the original list about 6 years ago. Although in Seaford Day Hospital, I wonder whether we should, recognising how difficult it is to to get any assets registered. I wonder whether that's actually one that should be on there. But otherwise, I think it's a very good list of our cherished assets.
Councillor Lyle.
I'm a bit mystified by Cradle Hill Industrial Unit. I wonder what justification is for registering those. It's a community like
I suppose it's keeping jobs in the town, that they don't, it doesn't sort of close the whole industrial area close and for development. I suppose
It's the only real industrial estate.
I think you'd
I
have
think
to,
that was the reasoning last time, if you remember Council Owen.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, sorry, it doesn't obviously preserve them. You've got 6 months, haven't you? So in some ways, you could easily say, yes, we still have to look the whole list. I mean, it's not a very good way of preserving anything, really, is it?
can I add something, Chair? Obviously, we've got the same neighbourhood plan at the moment on the way, haven't we? And some of these properties, areas are included in there anyway, and I think the neighbourhood plan gives a bit more protection than registering community assets, doesn't it? I mean, unless anyone thinks there's something urgent that needs to be like registered, like if there's a couple of them, maybe it needs to be done, maybe. I don't know if that's what anyone thinks that.
Yeah, kind of following on from
Yeah.
Councillor Honeyman there, should we be prioritising
Yeah.
some more over others if there's a risk that some are going to be built on or sold sooner than others, rather than just take the whole lot?
Got to work.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a lot of work for somebody, isn't it? And I just think some of these might be safe, mightn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
Councillor Latham.
if I could just add to that. It seems to me that the shorter the list, which I think is following on from Councillor Elton's comment, the shorter the list, probably the more successful it will be. And having a long list like this, as you rightly say, is a lot of work for somebody.
Yeah.
So prioritising would be a good idea. Maybe we should say limit it to maybe half a dozen or so, in the hope that those actually will be looked at. Whereas if somebody sees this list, they think, oh, and none of them will be looked at.
Can I come back?
Yes, Councillor.
And we could keep adding to the list. Is it sort of dynamic? You know, we can just
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I think that'd be a way of doing it. Look at it again. I don't know. Sort of. How often do we look at this?
Yeah, it's statutory every 5 years, I
It's
think.
too long, isn't it? Probably maybe.
So this was
Can we bring back
last
this committee on a
2012.
12-month basis or something? I don't know. So we talk about once a year.
If I come back, I think as Councillor Honeyman said, the neighbourhood plan seems to have superseded this to a large extent, and is certainly much more powerful legally than this has no legal standing whatsoever.
If it gets passed.
If it gets passed, yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Yeah, just an open plan.
it's a real relevance one. Without a neighbourhood plan, it's much more relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let that go through.
So, do you want to add anything to the list now, or do you want to pick certain ones out?
Sorry, Chair, the recommendation does say which of any of the assets should be subject to formal applications for registration. So I suppose we need to decide if there's any we think, oh, we ought to do that now, and let's leave the others.
Yeah.
Council Freeman,
Sure.
yes. So,
The old school surgery is dubious, isn't it? Because they're looking at the downs for a new medical centre.
The lease expires in 2 years.
Yeah. So I wonder whether we should take that out.
No, I think
Well, add it
we'll
in.
put it in.
yeah.
It's a priority. I
The
would
lease
thought.
runs out about 18
Yeah.
months,
But
doesn't it?
they're only going to be there for another 18 months.
But they
It's
can
exactly
sell it.
change it.
what to stop it being sold. We'll have some say in it. The church, I think, is sold, isn't it?
Can we add the other doctor surgery in this list at all? Does that help? Should that be on
I would have thought not.
there? Right?
The reason is that it's an ideal site for a small hotel. which is going into the neighbourhood plan. So
I mean, it's almost as though we need to renew this maybe when another plan's gone a bit further down the course a little bit, possibly, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um,
I agree.
as opposed to doing something now, apart from saying where some bits are covered by neighbourhood plan, maybe, but it's not.
Well, maybe there are certain sites that we should identify now, like the Barn Theatre, Little Theatre,
You could do that.
and leave the others to later.
The old
And that
surgery.
prioritises, as Councillor Elton was suggesting.
Yeah, yes, we'll give that to
There's
Councillor
the other
Archer.
one on there, retired names, I mean, you've all the signs there, it's a national, in the national park.
Yeah, so there's no point.
Yeah.
That's happened, yeah, well, yes.
That's out of date.
Like the land at Valley Dirt, that's Surrey Road one, so that's in the neighbourhood plan.
That's it, stay valid. Well, we could actually go through, couldn't we, and actually pull out half a dozen.
Yeah, do you want to go for this, Chair? Does that make
Right,
sense?
so we've got the Seaford Day Hospital, which as we know is sold to the Horder Healthcare.
So,
Right.
Come out.
No,
Just take,
Yeah.
take
is
that
that
out.
a low?
Yeah, do something, low, medium, high, whatever, yeah.
The old school surgery.
So-
It's high.
High.
Yeah, that's
Everybody
understandable.
agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
St Leonard's Church.
It's sort of protection, isn't
It's
it?
not
We can't touch
sold,
that,
is it?
it's fireproof.
Yeah, it's so protection of it,
That's-
okay.
We're
Yeah.
putting it in the list,
No,
or
anyway.
not
No.
making
It
it.
No.
shouldn't be there, because
No.
this scrib on this
Yeah.
one,
No.
but in the
I
detached,
think we should just take that out.
Yeah.
Just take it out.
Take that one out.
yeah.
Okay. Land at Valley Dip.
Well, neighbourhood plan anyway.
That's covered already, so it
Yeah,
can
and
come
I
out.
think that covers, like the Brickfield as well, so
Yeah.
that can come out. Post offices have been refused. All
Yeah.
pubs in Seaford.
Sorry, it stay.
Keep it in the cake.
Is that high?
Yes.
Very high, yes.
High? Everybody agree with
Yeah.
that?
Unless it's a Wellington and it's closed.
And the railway stations.
So they're exempt, so
They're
it should be,
exempt.
Right.
yeah, remove them.
Barn Theatre?
Yeah.
Oh, that's high,
That's
that's
high,
high.
yeah. Little Theatre?
Right.
Cradle Hill Industrial Units?
No,
Omit it?
No.
No.
Homefield House, or sales on the way,
Yeah, that's out there.
it's all been sent to that low, yeah. It's all done.
Take it out.
Take it out.
Take it out?
Yeah.
Police station has already been approved. Tide mills can come out.
Yeah. National Park and neighbourhood plan, yeah.
Chinkton Way Field.
That's
Neighbourhood plan.
Okay.
Does it come out now, Stephen?
Downs Leisure Centre.
That's a
That's
good
been
idea.
approved.
Yeah. Should I just make one point of order on this? If the neighbourhood plan examiner objects to certain sites as proposed in the neighbourhood plan, then this might be a useful fallback position. So for Chicken Fields, for example, I'm a bit biased because I live down there, but I wouldn't want to take it right out, because if it fails with regard to being a green space in the neighbourhood plan, it'd be useful to have it in
We
here.
could have a separate recommendation that to review this
Review it,
yeah,
after
okay,
the
yeah,
neighbourhood
yeah.
plan, if it,
Yes, okay, can we do that?
Yeah, it's always possible to review it earlier than
Yeah.
yeah.
the required period, so.
Okay, Seaford Head Swimming Pool.
Right.
Alright.
It's an asset to the town,
It's
isn't
in the middle of the school, isn't it? It seems pretty
So
safe, I can't
medium?
imagine it being built on,
Medium or low?
it's a low.
I
risk.
see.
It's separate to the school, isn't it?
Who would like to see it high? 2, 3,
For.
Yeah, we
Four.
have it,
Yeah,
You'll
we'll
have
have
it,
it,
you'll have it. Doesn't make a difference at this stage.
If it's not one in,
Is it?
Yeah.
I do use it every week because I'm a kid, so.
Porter cabins at Pebbles.
Well, they're on their sister council's rec ground, aren't they? And
Yeah.
they get used by the Baptist Church, aren't they? at the moment, but they've sort of rented it off them. It's low. I mean, it's low. It's not. What's the word? Historical or constant use. I mean, they could be just go back on the back of a lorry. They're very good for the community. So
low,
No.
Yeah.
because you're protected by the recreation ground anyway. In that sense.
constitutional club,
It's being built on
It's been built on anyway,
Yeah.
isn't it?
but it is, you know,
Planning
it's,
application,
it is an asset to the community with all the sort of clubs and different
Yeah,
things that
absolutely.
happen within
But
the
they maintain the club and building around it and above it, aren't they?
They are,
Yeah.
that's true, yes, yeah. So it's high then, is it?
or medium.
Medium, okay.
Everybody happy with
Yeah.
medium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Union Club,
Where's that?
It's behind Tesco's,
Yeah.
it's quite well used, I mean, it is a community.
Where is it?
Behind Tesco's.
I used to
Stafford
remember that.
Road, yeah.
Oh,
I used to remember years ago.
Yeah, I think that ought to stay in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High, medium or low?
High.
the British Legion Club,
High. Don't
I
lose
think
that.
that's fine, yeah. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Clinton Place.
High.
High.
Is that the Clinton Centre?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just
renaming.
really like that, yeah. The other one I thought of, is Bishopstone Parish Hall,
Yeah.
because that's an asset to the
Yeah,
community,
yeah.
I know I've got an interest there. The Mercury Centre, behind the,
Definitely.
Ouch.
It's the only youth club we've got.
yeah,
High.
yeah,
Yeah.
High,
Yeah.
Yes,
and the WI Hall,
yes,
Gosh, I like gosh.
yeah. High on that one?
yeah.
Yeah.
And what about these car parks? Should they
I
be?
think they're a necessity,
Yeah.
personally.
So they're already registered?
Already done.
It's
Oh, they're
already
registered,
done.
yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
right,
I mean, the prioritise them, which is helpful,
Yeah.
but it's a question also whether you want, given that there's a bit of extra work involved in the registration, whether you want anyone to go forward for registration now to Lewis as, you know, as this building and the Down Pleasure Centre have been, I'd say one or two for registration is okay, but if the, you know, half a dozen would be quite a bit of work, be a lot of work involved, considering what you have to, the case you have to put together to justify it. So if you want any put forward to registration at the moment, or just, you know, which ones of the high priority?
Councillor.
Could I suggest, because of the lease running out on the old school surgery, we make that a priority
Yeah.
Yeah.
for registration, and then following that, I think Bishopstone Parish Hall is such an asset to Bishopstone, although it's very unlikely it would be sold, I would have thought. But I think it depends how vulnerable the sites are, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is in.
Without being funny, perhaps the pubs should be the second one, because they, you know, we already know some, and the Sevens is under threat, and so maybe other pubs would be too. Because they tend to
Well,
get
the
closed.
Wellington's been closed for 2 weeks, hasn't it?
Has it? I didn't know that.
And also they're vital, I think, the pubs, because they provide
Community,
food and that for visitors, don't they?
Yeah,
don't think that's fair.
Only sort of in the summer when you've got people coming here,
yeah.
you've obviously got people needing somewhere to go to get food.
So I would like to suggest we put those two.
Well, there's a lot of work involved in
All the
registering
pubs.
each pub.
Yeah,
It's
it's all
too
work.
much work.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
It's
doing
about a week's
site
work,
visits,
isn't it?
but, you know.
Yeah.
I think the old school surgery is a very good one, because that's, you know, it's sort of coming up for possible redevelopment, and it's a central site.
Yeah.
But, well, I mean, it's not for me to decide, but, yeah, some of the pubs are under threat, and, you know, as you say, Seven Sisters in Wellington, but, or, you know, to cover all the pubs is not really all. You want to select some.
Okay, can I come back on that? Maybe just the Seven Sisters, because Seven Sisters is included in the neighbourhood plan, and it's the only pub that is. And there's been a lot of discussion with regard to its inclusion. and the risk of losing the drinking facility. And if the neighbourhood plan examiner throws it out, then it's likely that the owner, that is not the manager, will sell it because they're smelling money. So I think if we're going to include the pub, that's the one to include, just in case the neighbourhood plan doesn't support it.
Okay, so that's two. Okay.
And the pubs could be reviewed every year, maybe we do this every year, once a year.
As I say, I think if we have a recommendation that we review this in, say, 12 months' time,
Yeah. Good idea.
and just put forward those two.
Yeah,
That's right, that's right.
Okay, so we'll move forward. The old school surgery, Seven Sisters. And then the second recommendation that we review this in 12 months' time with this
And
committee.
I'll list them all with the different priorities that you've.
Can I have a proposal and second, please? Thank you. Can I have a show of hands, please?
That's
Yes.
carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, Leeds District Local Plan Part 2, verbal update from the Planning Officer on the timetable for examination in public to be held at County Hall, Lewes, between the 2nd and the 12th of April 2019.
Yes, thank you. At the last meeting, all we knew is that the hearings would take place on the 2nd of April to the 12th at County Hall. There's obviously various policies around the district that are going to be examined. The one that we have an interest in, which is the E1 new commercial area on the east side of Newhaven Harbour, which is open to views from Bishopstone and close to Tide Mills. The hearing for objections, or the hearing on that policy, is on the last day, Friday the 12th of April. We put forward Councillor Lara to represent us at that hearing, and she's going to attend. So obviously if anybody else is interested in attending, it's probably all day on Friday the 12th at the council chamber at County Hall. There's objectors lined up, including a very strong objection that I've just had put through to me from Newhaven Town Council. We're very much a supporting act, because obviously it's a Newhaven issue, and also we've got to be wary under the process of going in there and just, if we're repeating things that have already been put to the authorities, to the inspector, then you sort of tend to lose brownie points rather than gain anything, and I think we're very aware of that. So we're keeping a relatively low profile, but we're just making sure that we're represented there. I think we've told the inspector everything we want to say, but it's really an issue for Newhaven Town Council to fight. I'm sure they're grateful for our support, and the representations that they put forward that I just received earlier today do look very good, in that they're concentrating on the fact that Newhaven has been pretty badly treated over the years, the incinerator and heavy industry, the traffic, and so they have to cling on to the areas that give them some sort of respite, like the Tide Mills area and the beach and everything like that. So, and this policy, they say, threatens that, what they would call their little gem of a quiet area, as opposed to the rest. So, and the way it's been brought out is quite good, so hopefully the message will get over. But they will be supporting them on the 12th.
I'm not convinced that we will win, unfortunately. I did have a meeting with the new port manager, the Frenchman, Michael Schmoving, with some of the representatives from New Haven, and and they say they want that land, they need it for port expansion. So I don't think I'm not holding my breath that we're going to win this one, unfortunately.
What's the case if you don't
If you don't
try,
try,
you know,
yeah.
it's, okay.
Is that, when you're speaking to the port manager, there is a thing coming across from the other side. They're going to have a meeting on the ship on the way over.
Mm.
And I also hear that if this Brexit deal goes through or doesn't go through, there's going to be a lot more
Yeah.
traffic coming across the New Haven. Is that probably one of the reasons why he wants the land?
Possibly, but if they do, sorry Chair, but if they, when they build, when they get the new deep water berth, which is still not certain, but if they do, they might have much larger ferry as well, which will mean they have to move the whole ferry terminal down to that end.
Yeah.
So they want to cling on to it, that's true.
Okay, thank you. So can we all note what's been said?
Mhm.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Lowe, for your input. Item 7, Town Parade, verbal update from the planning officer or any response received from the Lewes District Council.
Unfortunately, there's been no response. Remember, it was resolved to approach the council because there were concerns about the fact that work seemed to have halted again, and that the council, district council, we didn't want them to feel that they could wash their hands of responsibility just because they managed to put enough pressure on last year to get works to recommence. It does appear that there's been very little work carried out since Christmas, and so I wrote to the district council following the meeting to say that if they should be proactive, that they've got the contacts with the developers, that they should find out what the developers' programme was for completing works and put pressure on them. That we as a town council were unable to bring pressure on them, and it was only the district council that had existing lines of communication following the formal action that they took, who could put pressure and get them to say what the intentions were with the site and why work had ceased. And I did suggest that a site in a town centre conservation area like this that had been virtually derelict for so long wouldn't be tolerated in Lewes. I don't know if that upset them, and that's why they haven't responded. But it's about 2 weeks now, so I'll obviously chase it.
Councillor Lowe.
Could I suggest that it is chased, and that the reason for chasing is the point raised by Mrs Wilson concerning the planks rattling in the wind and the possible risk of them becoming dislodged and causing injury. I think it's worth mentioning injury in the letter, because there's nothing like the risk of some sort of financial penalty to concentrate the mind. And also that this council is pressurising the planning officer to make a response, and members of the public as well. So I think we need to sort of try and ratchet up the pressure a little bit.
We've also contacted East Sussex County Council about the scaffolding in Saxon Lane,
Losing the road.
in the road, and Councillor Freeman.
I was going to say, Saxon Lane, the scaffolding does make parking very, very difficult there. Because you know, if you've got a passenger, you park your car, they very often they just can't get out. And it's just impossible.
No, the issue is for pedestrians, and especially like people with disability vehicles and mothers with prams as well, having to go in the road.
Well, I've seen somebody in a wheelchair having to go down the middle of the road.
That's it. Councillor Lowe.
Two sort of anecdotal things, but I wonder if you know the answer to them. One, I've been told that the licensing for the scaffolding runs out at the end of March. Now, people have got that in their head. I don't know where that's come from, but I've been told that. And also there was something on social media saying that the developers were coming down every week and checking and having breakfast in the cafe opposite, so
Of course, I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
You don't see. It's too much noise to see a man looking round the.
but this is just
scaffold.
anecdotal
Yeah.
stuff, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Can I come back on that?
Councillor,
Any clue as to who the licence is with?
No. It
No.
was just, it's the shopkeepers opposite which are saying they know things that perhaps we don't, and whether they know the truth or whether they're just, it's rumours, I don't know.
If there's an opportunity to sort of follow that up and identify, see how much they do know in terms of who the scaffolding licence is with, because I understood the company had gone into trouble and maybe it's now been passed on to another company.
well, the company, when I looked up the company, the scaffolding, it was a London-based
Right,
scaffolding company, so,
very unusual for them.
and I think it's all part of the parcel.
Yeah,
So that must be costing a
That's
fortune if it
unfortunate.
isn't.
Somewhere to store their scaffolding.
Sorry, there was a third thing as well. I did speak to Gary in Harvard, and his take on it was that he had to move, and also the autism shop had got to move their store downstairs to allow them to work on top of the upper stories. So I wonder if that's an excuse they're using for not getting on with it. They're waiting for those moves to have happened before they do everything. Again, it's just.
I just say that if anybody gets any news that work started, if you can let me know, because obviously I'm sort of facing up to Lewis on there, and so if anybody hears Mrs Wilson, through Mrs Wilson, as soon as anything happens, they note. If you could let me know, so I'm sort of fully up to date on it, because I wouldn't want to berate Lewis Council if work was sort of, still going on.
I pass at least once or twice a week, and I know for a fact when things happened since Christmas is the fact hoarding has gone off and it's been painted. Nothing else. This time last year I contacted the fire brigade because of the windshield and the scaffold boards were blowing down, and I contacted the fire brigade and they actually went to the scaffold and cut things loose and made the scaffold reasonably secure. I know nothing's gone on at all on that particular property. And with regards to the scaffolding, that should be with the highways department. It should have a scaff tag on it, which the scaff tag says it's regularly inspected. It's just a tag which on the scaffold to see. And I've had a look on the scaffold. There's no scaff tag on that particular scaffold. So if you're there actually doing this, it's just a simple piece of card like that, and you just take out an initiative to say you've inspected it. You should be inspected at least once a week. You're quite correct. Where it's been inspected, not I don't know. I need to see who the third-party liabilities and insurance are to the scaffold as well, because that's something we really do need to know. Something does go wrong with it. Because I've also informed the local businesses around there that they should inform their insurers that there's a large scaffold adjacent to their property, for example, the office bar, the Chinese restaurant on the corner, the Italian restaurant on the corner, and also the shops underneath. And they've actually informed their insurers. Insurers have not put their premiums up, but they're aware of the situation that there's a scaffold around them. It's only a matter of time before the insurer will start putting the scaffold up. We'll start putting the insurance up, knowing there's a large scaffold within the vicinity of their particular property. So it's something we need to do aware of.
Thank you. Right, we've fully discussed that, and so we noted what's been said.
I'll carry on with the representations to the district council and keep you updated. Probably put it on, have it on every agenda. So.
Is that something you could mention to Lewis, even though it's an East Sussex issue, simply because it's got a legal
It's just basically, it's a visual thing to show the scaffold being inspected. All it is.
It's just an inspection.
There's not one there.
It just adds the pressure a bit.
Sorry? Yeah. Okay.
It's worth mentioning too.
Okay. All right, we move on to agenda item 8, update report. Report.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. The last matter, age concern, Church Street. Town Council and Mr Hill, between us, have put further pressure on, and I think the senior planning officer who looked at it didn't agree with the way that the other officers had dealt with it in varying the decision to allow the trellis to be retained. And when he looked at it after the complaint was made, he decided that it shouldn't have been done informally. There should be a formal application to do it. So that, assuming it's going to be submitted, that will come back to us later. So and that was, let's say, down to pressure from the formal complaint from Mr Hill and the representations we've made. So, as I say, it should come back to us hopefully in a few months, well, very most a few months' time.
Okay. Any comments on this report?
Yeah, I spoke to the office when I was doing something down there in Age Concern, and they said that they was waiting for the woodwork to dry out before they painted it in keeping with the building.
Just one other thing. Harbours England.
Yeah, we've been reminding you that the exhibition of road improvements of the A27 between Lewes and Polegate. The exhibitions are currently taking place in Berwick on Saturday. Tomorrow, sorry. In Berwick tomorrow, Berwick Village Hall from 12:30 to 7:30. And on Saturday at Polegate Community Hall, obviously Berwick and Polegate being nearer the A27 are where it's being shown. But if anybody's interested, then as I say, it's probably easiest to go to Berwick tomorrow afternoon or evening. Failing that, Saturday afternoon at Polegate Community Centre, where there'll be detailed information available as to the various improvements which Highways England are intending to carry out since the publication of the preferred route.
Can I just say, I wouldn't rush over there. I've looked at what is there online.
Nothing.
The only major one that's nearest us is the enlargement of the Ilfeston roundabout.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, and that completes the meeting at 8:03. Thank you everybody for coming. Stay tuned.